what the black man and woman needs to know about the nation, about the world, about themselves. Muhammad Speaks It. To order your 12-issue subscription to Muhammad Speaks newspaper, 313-371-7033. 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie is the grand champion of all bean pies. The rich flavor and smooth texture takes this pie to a whole new level of delicious. One bite and you'll understand why people all over the country call daily to order Kareem Bean Pie. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie.
This bean pie is delicious.
Muhammad Speaks presents Messenger Elijah Muhammad's Teachings by Minister Khalil Shabazz every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. at Muhammad's Temple of Islam, 12609 East McNichols Road in Detroit.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Soul Masters, dear gentlemen, in which we now live. The alone that we serve and the alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path. Path of those upon whom thou spell thy favors. Not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down. Nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none serve to be served, worship or praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is our true servant and last apostle. Ameen. We'd like to acknowledge the brothers and sisters that extended us the greetings of Assalamu alaikum. We have Brother Mustafa and Sister Sharice Ali from Ohio. We have Sister Hala Brooks from California. We have Sister Miriam Omar from Oklahoma. We have Brother Minister Al Mutaqwan Ali from Philly. We have Brother Hanif from Hawaii. And we have Brother Minister Jabran Rashad from Chicago. I'd like to say in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his last and greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'd like to greet the brothers and sisters with the Nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Today we like to talk about Islam and the resurrection of the dead black man. Now, before the messenger, this is what the black man across the board believed the resurrection meant. This is a picture of Jesus rising from the dead, and we see him on the cloud, and all of his disciples is looking at Jesus in the air. So this is what the resurrection meant before everybody started copying and stealing the teachings of the messenger.
That's right.
Resurrection meant you rising from the dead and you meeting Jesus in the air. A physical death. Because today, we have competition today when we talking about the resurrection. This comes from the Israelites. It says, come and be a part of the greatest movement known to man. The resurrection of God's chosen people, the Israelites, is taking the world by storm. So this one, what they talking about the resurrection means the Israelites. Then we have another one. This one says the resurrection of the dead. Our people, our race, are the dead that need to be resurrected. The valley of dry bones is talking about us. Then it says the so-called blacks. Because to throw shots and to disrespect the messenger, they say we the so-called black man. So the so-called blacks, Hispanics and Native Americans. Then they have Bishop Nathaniel's name with Malcolm X's name. Now, why do they have Malcolm X now? Because now they say they taught Malcolm X. So when Malcolm X is teaching, they say, he say that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us. But they said that they the ones who really taught Malcolm the scriptures. And the reason why I always say something, because Louis Farrakhan always with them. So it makes it to seem like what they saying is true. So let's talk about the messenger. And let's talk about the resurrection of the dead black man.
Yes, sir.
First, we want to start with a May 24th, 1974 Muhammad speech. This was 1 year before the messenger passed away. This says, Salam Restaurant salutes top newspaper salesman. 39 clean-cut Muslims sell 13,000 of Chicago's 75,000 copies per week. 75,000 copies of the Muhammad Speaks was being sold in Chicago per week. All praise is due to Allah. Now let's break that down. Because we talking about the resurrection of the dead black man. We want to start with the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. Now let's just break this down based on numbers. Now the population of Chicago is 2,697,000 people. This was in 2021. It says it's 29% is black people. So that would be 782,130 people. If the messenger was selling 75,000 Muhammad Speaks newspapers a week, that means in 10 weeks, they would have reached every black man, woman, and child in Chicago. Praise due to Allah. In 10 weeks. If we just going by the numbers of today's numbers, I don't know how many black people was in Chicago in 1974. But if we just go by the numbers, because we got competition today, when we talking about the resurrection of the black man. So the messenger in 10 weeks would have gotten to every black man, woman, and child in Chicago. Now, if we go for the whole year, because there's 52 weeks in a year. So in 52 weeks, or in 1 year, the messenger would have got to every black man, woman, and child 5 times over again.
Praise be to Allah, brother. Break it down.
In 1 year. Where was the Israelites in 1974? Now, mind you, the messenger started out with the final call to Islam in 1934. We're just talking about the recorded history of the messenger.
That's right.
Talking about the resurrection of the dead black man. So he got to, and this is just one city, Chicago. This was before Facebook. This was before Instagram. This was before Twitter and the internet altogether.
Yes.
Just the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears of the messenger
Yes, sir.
for 40 years or 44 years.
Yes.
He was able to get his message to every black man, woman, and child 5 times over in one city. And we just talking about the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. We're not talking about his weekly radio broadcasts. We're not talking about his temple meetings. We're not talking about the big rallies and the bazaars. We're just talking about with one mode of communication. That's the newspaper. So let's talk about the newspaper. What was the black man reading in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper could have been 5 times over again every year. The messenger has the Muslim program. He says, this is the question asked most frequently by both whites and blacks. The answer to this question I shall state as simply as possible. So the messenger was asked the question so many times, what does the Muslims want and what do they believe? To where he just took the answer to these questions and just put them on the back of the paper so people can see them every issue.
That's right.
So one of the beliefs of the Muslims is point number 5. It says we believe in the resurrection of the dead. Not in physical resurrection, but in mental resurrection.
Yes, sir.
Now let's just stop right there. Because the messenger told us that the resurrection is a principle of Islam. Because the messenger told us that the New Testament and the Holy Quran teaches of the resurrection. He told us that the Old Testament or the Torah does not speak of a resurrection. That's very vital for us to understand. Because before the messenger broke down for us the beliefs of the Muslims, nobody was ever able to argue with the black man or the white man about the black man's presence in the Bible or Holy Quran. Because the messenger told us we was taught to believe on face value. That's how we was taught to believe. So when it said that Jesus was resurrected from the dead, or it talked about Lazarus, or anybody in the Bible who was dead, we believed on face value, so that meant they was physically dead. So when the Bible says that in the end everybody was going to be resurrected, we believed in face value. We believed it as it was written. We believed one day Jesus was going to come back, and when he came back, everybody that believed in Jesus was going to rise up out of the ground from the grave and meet Jesus in the air. But the messenger, from these beliefs of the Muslims, he changed us from believing in the Bible and on face value. So he says we believe in the resurrection of the dead, not in physical resurrection, but in mental resurrection. We believe that the so-called Negroes are most in need of mental resurrection, therefore they will be resurrected first. He says, furthermore, we believe we are the people of God's choice, as it has been written that God would choose the rejected and the despised. He says we can find no other persons fitting this description in these last days more than the so-called Negroes in America. He says we believe in the resurrection of the righteous. All praise is due to Allah. So this caused the black man to stop looking at the Bible on face value. And when you stop looking at the Bible on face value, now you can argue about the black man being in the Bible. Because instead of you arguing about the physical serpent, you cannot talk about the characteristics of a serpent. You can talk about the characteristics of a beast. You can talk about the characteristics of a dragon. You can talk about the characteristics of Lazarus, the prodigal son, the lost sheep, Israel, the resurrection of the dead. Messenger told us we don't believe in the Bible on face value.
That's right.
Praise is due to Allah. We believe that we fit the description of the people in the last days, because that is what gives the black man the true understanding of the scriptures.
That's right.
Is by understanding the description of the Lazarus, the description of the lost sheep, the description of the prodigal son, the description of Israel and a Jew, because every name in the Bible is used to deceive the black man.
Yes.
That's what the messenger told us.
Sir.
He said, we are not called by our name. Every name. Beast is used to deceive the black man. Serpent is used to deceive the black man.
Right.
Beast is used to deceive the black man.
Yes.
Israel is used to deceive the black man. But the messenger told us that we don't look at the physical or the face value. He told us to look at the description.
Yes.
And the black man, no other persons, fits the description in these last days better than the so-called Negroes of America. Praise be to Allah. Now let's talk about this hypocrite. Because we got to start with him.
Yes.
Because we want to have the same spirit that Muslims had during the time of the messenger. So since this hypocrite, Lewis Walcott, that's his hypocrite name. When you turn hypocrite, we don't use your Muslim name. Pray due to Allah. This hypocrite's name is Lewis Walcott.
Right.
So if we want to go in the spirit of Muslims during the time of the messenger, we want to read from this hypocrite Lewis Walcott. This come from him December 15, 1967. It says, urges all efforts to spread truth via newspaper, messengers, books, and records. This hypocrite. He says today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is making these scriptures abundantly clear to us. We the lost and found members of the aboriginal black nation are the actual lost sheep. He says of the scriptures that must be fed. The lamb, we are taught, symbolically represents that messenger of God who would be found in the last days among the lost sheep, and whose mission would be to lead the sheep into green pastures, which is the actual answer to the 23rd Psalm of David. He says, Almighty God Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, has placed upon the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's shoulders the greatest mission ever given to an apostle, prophet, or messenger in the past. That mission is to give life, knowledge of self and others, knowledge of God and the true religion of God to the mentally dead American so-called Negro.
Yes, sir.
That's what God gave the messenger the mission to do. This mission was the greatest mission ever given to any messenger or prophet of the past. So this mission was never given to anybody else. This is why we call the messenger the last and greatest messenger of Allah.
Yes.
Because the Bible talks about the black man as being dead. We so dead, or we so dumb, that the prophet said they dead. That's how they describe the black man. We are a people who living, but we dead. So they saw that in the last days, whoever raised these dead black people, this would be the greatest mission ever given to anybody, to raise a dead man.
Yes, sir.
Because the messenger taught us. He said that Moses didn't teach a dead people. Jesus didn't teach a dead people. Muhammad didn't teach a dead people. The messenger taught us. We are the only people in history that has been dead. robbed of a knowledge of self.
Yes, sir.
He said when Prophet Muhammad came on the scene, he said the Arabs was not dead. They were savage. They believed in idolatry, but they wasn't enslaved. Nobody robbed them of a knowledge of self. Nobody had them in bondage. They wasn't raped, lynched, and murdered like the black man. They were savage. They believed in idolatry, and Prophet Muhammad civilized them. He united them and brought them together. The messenger taught us about Jesus. When Jesus came on the scene, the Jews was not lost. The Jews was not in bondage. The Jews was not enslaved. They wasn't dead. They knew who Moses was. They knew about the Torah. They knew they was the murderers of the prophets.
Yeah.
They knew who Jesus was. They wasn't lost. But the messenger told us the black man, not only is he lost, messenger told us that John Hawkins stole a boatload of black people, separated us from our own kind, and brought us to Jamestown, Virginia. Now we lost. After we was lost, we was robbed of a knowledge of self. Thoroughly robbed. Robbed so bad they call us dead. So the messenger is the one who God missioned to resurrect the dead black man. So this hypocrite goes on. He says, for almost 37 years, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has fed us the bread of life, the word of Allah. If we love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as we say we do, we must, as his followers, demonstrate our love. I like that. That's the one thing that separates us from them. That's why I want to be a minister like they was ministers. I don't want to be one of these old my black brother kind of ministers. I don't want no old my black brother kind of brothers or sisters. Because when you read Lewis and the rest of these Muslims, when he talks about demonstrating your love, not only is he talking about making an all-out effort to get the messenger's books, the messenger's newspapers, the messenger's records, all of the messenger's teachings to the black man. That ain't all it meant to demonstrate your love. What it also meant is if you needed all the teeth beat out your head to get you to understand that the messenger, he ain't the one, then we, the sister said, are most happy to defend the messenger spiritually, mentally, and physically. That's why I bring the old stuff. I tell you where you can find it. I tell anybody, if I'm lying about what I'm saying, prove me wrong. Sisters used to write articles in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper making it clear, we will fight you about the message.
Yes.
That's why you didn't have Israelites then. You didn't have people taking the teachings of the message and just adding it to what you talking about. Because let's go on with what he said. He said, if we love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as we say we do, we must, as his followers, demonstrate our love for him by helping him in this divine mission of feeding the so-called Negroes the vital truth so necessary to the well-being and future of the black man, which only can be found. Only, so if they telling them Muslims back then, the truth can only be found in Message to the Black Man, the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, or the Messenger's records. What they gonna do if they see Bus Stop Bishop talking about the resurrection is with the Israelites? Because then they was taught we have to demonstrate our love, not just talking. Because one example about talking about your love. I put this Israelite stuff on my lectures for at least 2 years now. I put the Israelites in the title. I explain to everybody who listen what they do to the messenger, what they do to Islam, all of that. I ain't got no response in almost 2 years. Very few people even say anything. But when I made them videos about Shahrazad, 2 videos about her, now everybody, what's up with Shahrazad? Why you say this about Shahrazad?
Teach, Brother Minister.
But the messenger, 2 years, not a single response. Even to show you how these people don't care nothing about the messenger. The Israelites don't just disagree. They use profanity now to disrespect the messenger. They take sisters now, put them all in the thumbnail, use videos of sisters to disrespect the Nation of Islam. But what Muslim? They don't say nothing. You see these people with this hypocrite, while they disrespecting, they with them. So that's why I want to come in the spirit of them Muslims during the time. If it took us to beat all the teeth out your head to get you to understand, we are most happy to do it for the message. And if I'm lying, prove I'm right. I'm lying. All of this acting like this mouth love, but this generation. Because when the messenger was watching, he said, you got to prove your love. You got to demonstrate your love.
Right.
I'm the messenger of Allah. Allah gave me the mission for 22 million black people. This is my mission. The only truth that will save them, the only truth that will resurrect them is what I'm teaching. So if you love me, demonstrate your love.
That's what he taught.
He said, if I'm tongue lashed and you won't defend me, he said, how can I expect you to do something if I'm cut and shot at?
That's exactly what he said.
That's what he said. And when you read this hypocrite, Louis Walcott, him and everybody else was not ashamed to demonstrate their love for the message.
Right.
So let's go on even further with one more article from this hypocrite, Louis Walcott. This comes from the December 15th, and this article was in the December 15th, 1967, Muhammad Speaks. This one is in April of 1967. I forget the day, but this one was in April. It says, Muslim minister urges all black people read divine truths in Messenger's books. He says the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's dynamic and revealing book, Message to the Black Man, is a unique divine gift to the black people of America and to dark mankind the world over. He says to anyone who owns the Bible or Quran, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's message to the black man is a must. To those religious scholars and scientists who teach religion from the Bible and Holy Quran, in either the East or the West, Muhammad's message to the black man is a must. This is how they used to talk about the message.
Yes, sir.
Wasn't no scholar who knew what he was talking about. Didn't nobody from the East know what and it did, especially no half-dead ex-nigger in America. You don't know what you talking about. You wasn't letting none of these black people tell you nothing about the Bible. Win Lewis. But let's keep going. He says there have been many wonderful scriptures revealed for the good and the guidance of man during the last 6,000 years, the most powerful of which are the Torah Old Testament brought by Moses, the Injil New Testament brought by Jesus, and the Holy Quran brought by Muhammad ibn Abdullah. He says, however, what is very interesting to note about these three great scriptures is Jesus or neither Moses, Jesus, nor Muhammad interpret these scriptures which they brought. That's most interesting to know. You telling all these brothers who you telling them demonstrate your love to the messenger. Muhammad, Jesus, nor Moses had an interpretation. None of them. So that means Bus Stop Bishop don't have an interpretation for the black man. The messenger do. They made it. That's why I bring this old stuff. I don't bring none of the new school stuff. Straight up old school. Because they made it crystal clear what it meant to be a follower of the messenger and what we believe and where we stand. Every scholar, no matter if he in the East or in America, you need to get message to the black man.
That's right.
Whether you from the East, whether you a scholar, whether you a preacher, whether you the black man in the mud, everybody need to get this book from the messenger. Because the scriptures don't have an interpretation. So you don't know what the resurrection means. God came to raise the messenger to teach you
That's right.
what resurrection means. So let's go on even further. Now we want to talk about the first begotten of the dead. Because these are the terms that we don't use no more in this new school stuff with this hypocrite. Because what does the first begotten of the dead mean? And who is this person? When the messenger explained to the black man what resurrection meant, he explained it from top to bottom. We not just dead. We are a dead nation of people. But there is a process to the resurrection.
Yes.
It gotta be somebody who the first one that God taught the truth to. Got to be.
Yes.
So the Bible on face value in the book of Revelations, it said, Revelations 1 and 5, it says, and from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead. Now we take that on face value. Or if we believe in the teachings of the messenger, which either way, Jesus is the one who ushers in the resurrection. The resurrection does not start without Jesus. So we want to ask Bus Stop Bishop Nathan, where Jesus at? How you know about the resurrection?
Right.
How you know that the resurrection of the dead ain't physical resurrection? Who told you?
Yes, sir.
Because the messenger told us that God came. He didn't just know about the resurrection because he read the Bible. God came.
Yes.
And God taught him that it don't mean physical resurrection.
Right.
So who taught Bus Stop Bishop?
Yes, sir.
That's our question. Because if you believe the Bible on face value, Jesus ushers in the resurrection.
That's right, Brother Billy.
So until Jesus comes, the black man still supposed to be dead in the grave. Until Jesus comes. Because we supposed to see Jesus in the air. And that is what resurrects us. Or you stealing from the messenger.
Right.
You can't have it both ways. So the messenger, He not only taught us about the resurrection in his writings, he also taught us about the resurrection in his drawings. So you see the messenger, who is the first begotten of the dead.
Yes, sir.
He always standing by next to her, reaching down in the grave to get the black man.
Yes, sir.
This is how we learn that it was not talking about a physical resurrection
Yes.
from the messenger.
Yes.
He the one. This is one of the most famous ones. This comes from the January 15, 1965 Muhammad Speaks. It's showing the messenger. It says he raises the dead. The dead just don't read the Bible. The dead just don't make yourself a prophet. God has to come
Yes.
and raise one. And that one is the first begotten of the dead.
Teach, brother.
So the messenger in the Muhammad Speaks is showing us that he is the first begotten of the dead.
Yes, sir.
So let's go even further than that. Another Muhammad Speaks newspaper. The first begotten of the dead,
Yes, sir.
reaching down in the grave. You see the black man with the Christian cross, because the messenger taught us that the New Testament and the Holy Quran speaks of a resurrection. It don't speak of the resurrection in the Old Testament. Because why are we on that point? Before these fakes start stealing from the messenger, Jews do not believe in Jesus. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Jews don't believe in the New Testament, so how they not talking about the resurrection,
Yes, sir.
talking about the prodigal son, talking about the lost sheep, when Jews don't believe in Jesus at all?
Right.
They don't believe in the New Testament. So the new school Israelites, they don't identify with wearing yarmulkes, going to the synagogue and doing bar mitzvahs. They Israelites now. So they accept Jesus. Now, mind you, Jews killed Jesus. That's the history. After they killed Jesus, they never accepted him. Not even the black Jews. Because before the messenger, if you wanted to be a Jewish rabbi, you had to go to the Jewish Theological Seminary. If you wanted to be a Christian preacher, you had to go to the Christian Theological Seminary. And they taught you the doctrine that you teach. But when the messenger came, now you got Israelites all on the corner like they got all this to say. They didn't have all that to say before they started stealing the teachings of the messenger.
Right.
And the messenger died. And instead of us demonstrating our love, we got lip love for the messenger. Our love for the messenger don't come past our lips. All of them coward FO out I saw last week. Then we gonna move on. This hypocrite Lewis Walcott, temple number 1, his temple, they let some sister supposed to be the minister. I guess this was her, because I watch them all. I watch that hypocrite and I look at Bus Stop Bishop. So this hypocrite, Lewis Walcott, he got some sister up there teaching. Then after she finished teaching, she out there shaking hands with brothers. She got long dangling earrings on. She got on makeup. So does that help the messenger or that help this hypocrite? Because the messenger taught us about the characteristics of a hypocrite. He says building a mosque in opposition to the message.
That's right.
That's what hypocrites do.
That's what they do.
And that's what Lewis Walcott has done. Messenger said in these mosques that's built in opposition to the message, he said they are a shelter for the enemies of Islam.
Yes.
That's what the messenger said about these mosques built in opposition. So instead of them demonstrating their love, they got lip love. They can stand right next to the people who called the messenger Elijah Pooh. They can stand right next to the same people who disrespected Master Farad Muhammad because they in the mosque building opposition
Yes.
to the messenger.
That's right, brother.
So let's go on with these cartoons. This is a picture of the messenger, who is the first begotten of the dead. It shows him digging or reaching down in the grave for the dead black man. Then it has a Christian cross, because the messenger told us that the New Testament and the Holy Quran speaks of the revelation or the resurrection. So we got another picture. This is the messenger again, the first begotten of the dead, sitting with a brother, this time he in a hospital bed with crutches. So this time the messenger quotes the Holy Quran scripture, because the Holy Quran speaks of the resurrection.
Yes.
Jews don't talk about no resurrection. They don't talk. When you go to newspapers.com, when them Jews be talking about the Jewish people who scattered all over the earth, they don't talk about them like they dead. They just say when the Messiah come, he gonna gather all them Jews up and they just gonna go back to Israel. They ain't talking like they dead. They just saying when the Messiah come, he gonna gather all them fakes and go to Israel. That's what the black Jew and the white Jew used to believe. That's what nation used to mean before the messenger came. If you was a black Jew, you believed that Israel was a nation. You didn't believe it was a black nation though. You believed it was a nation with the white Jew and the black Jew. So you felt like Judaism was the natural religion of all people, or the Jews, I should say. So you was a Jew, going to the synagogue, doing bar mitzvahs, and you felt like Israel was the nation for the Jews, not the dead black man in America. But the message told us that he's the first begotten of the dead, and he is the one who will raise the dead black nation.
That's right.
Whether you going from Holy Quran or Bible. Now let's go even further than that, because this is my favorite part. Because this is where we're going to talk about how the messenger explained to us about the resurrection of the dead. Because the messenger told us that Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. If you have an algebraic expression or an algebraic equation, when I was in school, the teacher was like, I want to see your work. I don't want to just see you tell me x equal 2. You got to start from the top with the problem and show your work.
That's right.
Because you could be wrong in your work. Sometimes you could be wrong in your work and still mess around and say x equals 2. They still, no, I want to see how you came up with x equals 2.
That's right.
That's what these Israel, show us your work.
Yes, sir.
Show us how long it took you to explain to the black man about the resurrection. It took the messenger years to continue to keep explaining about the resurrection. Now let's start with the November 9th, 1957 Pittsburgh carrier. The messenger says, he says, surely there is a resurrection of the dead. It is one of the principles of Islam, but not the physical dead in the graves. It is the mentally dead the ignorant, whom the devil's falsehood has killed, to the knowledge of truth, the divine truth, which must be preached to them to awaken them in the knowledge of him again. You and I know that it can't refer to a physically dead person, because that one won't and can't rise again. What is left to rise from a body that has gone back to the earth, or up in smoke, or eaten by some wild beast, or fish of the sea? People who died before the flood and after, even Adam, he says they have nothing to rise from. That made so much sense to me when I first, because I never thought about that. What if a black man died because he was mauled by a lion or a dog? What if a black man burnt up in the fire? What if he drowned in the sea? If a black man lived during the time of Adam, what would be left of his body today to resurrect? Right. This is the messenger, as it says. Islam is mathematics.
Yes, sir.
And mathematics is Islam. The messenger just couldn't tell us, look, the resurrection means mental resurrection. It don't mean physical. And just leave it at that. That's that X equals 2. Yes. He got to show us the work. Yes. We got to keep having more. 1, problem 2, problem 3. He got to keep writing up.
Yes.
Keep showing us the work over and over and over again.
Yes,
before we understood that resurrection means mental resurrection. So then the messenger goes on. He says, remember, the Old Testament, the Torah, does not teach of a resurrection of the dead. He said, remember that. Because when you see these bus stop Bible babblers during the time of this hypocrite taking the messenger's teachings and adding they stuff to it, messengers say, I always want you to remember that the Torah don't talk about a resurrection of the dead. So you need to add where you get it from.
Right.
Jesus is supposed to be the one who ushers in the resurrection. Where Jesus at? You don't even talk about you met Jesus. And he taught you. They don't talk about Jesus. They still waiting on. But you know what the resurrection means. You know the black man's supposed to be resurrected. But Jesus ain't nowhere in sight to these face value believers. So let's go on even further with the message. This one comes from July 7th, 1956, Pittsburgh Herald. The messenger says, he says the New Testament and the Holy Quran's teachings of a resurrection of the dead can't mean the people who have died physically and returned to the earth, but rather a mental resurrection of us, the black nation, who are mentally dead to the knowledge of truth, the truth of self, God and the arch enemy of God and his people. He says this truth. He says this is that truth. John 8:32. That will make us free. Whereof John 8:32 doesn't say what truth shall make you free. Therefore leaving it questionable and to the advantage of the enemy. That's the message. While we was dead, in our grave, in a mental death, we read in the Bible where it says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Yes, sir.
But just leaving it at that, what that's telling the black man? We think that could mean the truth of Christianity. That could mean the truth of Judaism. That could mean the truth of Buddhism. What truth he talking about? But the message, the first begotten of the dead, told us that that truth means the truth of God, the truth of self, and the truth the devil. That's the truth that will resurrect the dead black man.
Yes, sir.
Who is mentally dead, not physically dead. But let's go on even further than that. Let's go to the August 1st, 1959 Pittsburgh Carrier. This says, for whosoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. That comes from Matthew 24 and 28. Now we face value believers. What that's talking about? Who is that talking about? Because I was in the church all my life here. I didn't know that was talking about the black man. How does that talk about the black man? So the message. He says the poor so-called Negroes are the mentally dead carcass of the nation. The robbers of them, even their own kind. This is what the messenger used to teach them brothers who he telling, you got to demonstrate your love. Because all this old my black brother stuff that this hypocrite, the messenger did not teach that at all. Messenger taught us that we are black brothers. Every black man and woman in America is our brother. But the messenger say we dead. He told us it ain't no spook. He said the black man is righteous by nature. He said the original man is the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, and the God of the universe. But he goes on to say, and our Savior has arrived. He said the black man in America is not an example of the original man. Simple and plain.
Right.
The black man is evil. The black man is wicked. And he imitates the devil sometimes better than the devil.
Yeah.
That's the messenger. So it wasn't no old my black brother. Messenger said even they own kind. Even your own kind try to rob.
That's right.
They try to rob you of another. This brother, Bishop Nathan, he the most jealous person I ever seen. Next to that hypocrite Lewis Walcott. And I know, and this is the reason why I don't like him. And I talk about him so much. I heard him in my clothes. I heard him talk about this brother named Abba Bibbs. I'm going to bring in the video. I'm going to show it on this lecture. He talks about one of their people named Abba Bibbs, who used to teach in the 70s. He used to try to disrespect Islam like Bishop be doing. This what he was saying. He said that Abba Bibbs was the type of brother that will be teaching from the podium or outside somewhere where he be. They say he would come off of the podium and fight with people in the crowd. Because they say, I guess he was a boxer or something. But they said one day, old Abba ran into some Muslims who love the message and who demonstrate they love. Heard him up there running his mouth like how they be doing. So they got into a fight. Put him in the hospital. Let him tell you what happened to him in the hospital. That's what he said.
Yes, sir.
So him knowing that history, him seeing this hypocrite Lewis Walcott teaching black people or Muslims to have lip love for the message. He know the difference between the messenger's followers and this lip love stuff.
Yes.
Because he know their history. It's even white Christian apologists who talk about Abba Bibbs. This one white boy who was talking about Abba Bibbs and this fight. They said one day was teaching this other time. And they must have told a Muslim, when Jesus come, Jesus gonna do this and this and that to the Muslims. So the white boy said, the Muslims say, well, let's don't wait on Jesus. Let's do it right now. Them was Muslims with the message. I don't care if you get it from the Muhammad Speaks. I don't care if you get it from newspapers.com. I don't care if you get it from Bus Stop or the white boy. If you needed the teeth beat out your head for the message, Muslims was most happy to do. Well, brothers and sisters, we don't want to prolong the time. So I leave you as I came in the Nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Enjoying the show? Help keep us on the air. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033 to make a donation.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, sole Master's Day of Judgment in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone beseech for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path, path of those upon whom thou bestow thy favors, not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he, Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none is heard to be served, worship or praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is thy true servant and last apostle. Ameen. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us not to do anything to anyone that we wouldn't have done it to ourselves and treat everybody right, even the devil. Assalamu alaikum.